Some believe the apex hunter is always at the top of the chain. They never met humans. They thought humans were weak and frail. The archives were wrong, very wrong. Every strategy can be broken. Every hunter can know fear. They all came for the hopes of riches and glory, only to find something else. Step into the jungle and see who truly hunts whom. They never met humans. A wet green dusk lay thick over the Amazon, every shadow alive with insects, vapor, and secrets that had survived centuries. The sky above the canopy split, soundless, sharp as the inside of a predator's mouth, as the hunter's dropship glided in, invisible to all but the most sensitive animals below. Even those creatures, old survivors of mankind's genetic meddling, scattered and fell silent. It was the silence the hunters liked best. Inside the dropship, lead hunter Crucible knelt, one three-fingered hand pressed to the hull's cool, breathing metal. Crucible's vision adjusted. Ultraviolet, infrared, thermal overlays flickering like ghosts. She could see her own heart's pulse in the soft purple light, could feel her hunting kin tense around her. 6 in total, tall and roped with muscles grown for acceleration, skin studded with microtech scales that flexed with every breath. They lived for this. Not the kill, but the pursuit, a world of finding the apex, breaking it, and adding its bones to the archive. Crucible's people had hunted on 50 worlds, each time finding the so-called dominant species wanting. They called themselves the apex, but in the archive, only the strongest survived. Below, the jungle waited, old as memory, dense with steaming fog and the smell of rotten orchid. The research station's coordinates blinked in Crucible's vision, a sprawl of steel and glass, buried among strangler figs and the tangled architecture of ancient biotech, its lights barely visible through the mist. Crucible checked her weapon, a rifle built for stealth, coated with lichen-mimic skin. She signaled, and the dropship opened like a splitting seed, letting the damp, wild heat flood in. 6 hunters stepped out, silent as falling dusk sliding into the trees. Above, the dropship vanished, waiting for a call. The hunters moved as one, melting into undergrowth, senses wide open. Somewhere in the green, humans worked, laughed, and slept, oblivious. For now. Crucible's fangs bared in anticipation. Earth's apex would make a worthy hunt, she hoped. She marked the first heartbeat on her scanner, smiled as it pulsed stronger, nearer. The game was on. The jungle swallowed them whole. Crucible and her pack drifted through vines and twisted roots, feet leaving no mark in the black loam. The air was a living thing, hot, choked with the wet iron scent of rain, full of winged insects that flashed and vanished in bursts of bioluminescence. Their armor adapted, mirroring the deep greens and ghostly blues around them, microtech fibers hushing every movement. They moved in silence, communicating only by pulse, a subdermal flicker of information, direction, status, heartbeat of the prey ahead. One by one, their helmets filtered out the endless buzz of the forest, focusing on a single thread. A human alone, perhaps 50 meters away, lost among fallen branches and the skeleton of a shattered tree. The prey's name, broadcast in station logs, meant nothing to Crucible. All that mattered was the rhythm, adrenaline climbing, breath quickening, an animal ready to run. She savored it, like the electric edge of a coming storm. The hunter to her right, Slef, signaled. Visual contact. Crucible melted forward, vision narrowing. Through a veil of moss, she saw the human. A man, mid-30s, lean, sweat-soaked, clutching a datapad in one hand, a machete in the other. He was muttering, unaware, probably cursing a malfunctioning sensor.
Sleth raised a capture net, threads glistening with paralytic toxin. Krizar signaled, wait. She wanted to watch, to measure the reflex, to see if this apex was worth the archive. The human paused, turned as if sensing eyes, and lifted the machete.
Krizar admired the gesture, a flash of stubborn will, a primitive kind of defiance. But it would change nothing. Sleth fired. The net unfolded mid-air, a liquid shimmer. It landed on the human, pins latching to flesh. He thrashed, eyes wide. But the toxin did its work. Muscles failed. Datapad crashed to the mud. Krizar approached, crouched over the fallen prey. She logged the pulse, rapid, then fading. Not a struggle, but not a surrender either. She respected that. Pulse to the pack. First catch logged. Continue. Around her, the jungle remained indifferent. The hunt had only just begun.
The prey's datapad glowed feebly in the mud, a pulsing blue beacon half-swallowed by rain and leaves. Krizar stooped, careful to avoid the toxin's slick net, and plucked it free. The device came to life, displaying a frantic string of messages, warnings, location logs, and images snapped from the jungle's edge. One image caught her attention, a blurry shot of something tall, armored, half hidden among the trees. A hunter. She smiled, a thin, predatory tilt of her mouth. This one had been cleverer than most. He'd seen something, suspected more, tried to warn his people. Too late, but not without instinct. She flicked the pad to her own display, transmitting the data back to the dropship's archive. Pulse. Evidence suggests awareness. Increase caution. Sleth and another hunter, Vol, dragged the unconscious man deeper into the undergrowth, vanishing beneath a curtain of wet ferns. He'd serve as a specimen. Alive, for now. Krizar made a note to check on his vitals. She preferred her archive to remember prey as they were, not merely as corpses.
A silent signal rippled through the pack. Another human heartbeat detected, closer to the edge of the research station. Krizar's vision sharpened. The hunt must continue, but now with greater care. If one prey had seen them, others might follow. From somewhere deeper in the forest, a sharp report rang out. Something metallic, unmistakably artificial, echoing through the endless green. Krizar froze, every sense snapping open. Had one of the others been clumsy? Or had the humans begun to understand what stalked them? She raised her rifle, motioned for her pack to fan out, and slid into the thickening shadows. Every hunt shifted. This one, she sensed, would require all her skill. And somewhere beyond sight, another human watched from high in the tangled trees, camera lens glinting, breath held. The jungle was never one-sided.
The air had shifted. Krizar felt it in her second heart, a cold prickle at the base of her neck. The hunt, once routine, now held a razor's edge. The jungle pressed tighter, as if the vines themselves conspired to slow her pack's progress. Each movement sent droplets tumbling from enormous leaves, every step echoing into the green silence. Vol, moving ahead and high, signaled from a thick bough. He had eyes on the next target. A small, temporary human shelter wedged between ancient buttress roots, half hidden by camouflage netting and moss. Heat signatures flickered inside. Two humans, huddled close, low voices barely audible through the damp. Krizar's helmet filtered the sounds. Fear, whispered plans, a radio squelch as one tried to call the main station. Static, no answer. The dropship's jammers worked flawlessly. Sleth circled left, keeping low, pulse steady. Krizar gave a silent command. Observe first, then strike. She wanted to see how the humans reacted, what they would do when they realized help would not come.
Inside, the humans fumbled for weapons. One had a small sidearm, the other a makeshift spear tipped with salvaged metal. Both trembled. Krizar watched, fascinated. Even cornered, these prey displayed a persistence, a stubborn refusal to collapse. Suddenly, a distant shout, another hunter's distress call, abrupt and cut short. Every member of the pack froze, senses on full alert. Krizar blinked through channels, scanning. No response. The humans, too, heard. Their faces shifted from fear to something else. Alert, determined. A flicker of hope. Kriza hissed softly, signaling the pack to regroup and proceed with extreme caution. This hunt was changing. The prey were beginning to fight back. In the shadows above, something unseen tracked the hunters, breath held, blade gleaming with jungle mist. The game was far from over. Kriza advanced through the thickening gloom, senses stretched to their limits. Her vision cycled rapidly, thermal, motion, pulse, hunting for the source of the sudden distress call. The rest of her pack tightened their formation, moving more like prey than predator now, scanning the jungle for shapes that didn't belong. Ahead, Vol crouched, hand pressed to a spatter of dark fluid pooling beneath a jagged branch. The substance sizzled on contact with the earth. A hunter's blood, unmistakably acidic. Vol pulsed an alert, eyes wide beneath his visor. Hunter down. The message rippled through the pack, an electric current of disbelief. Sleth moved closer, weapon drawn, armor shifting to near invisible patterns. Kriza knelt by the fluid, touched it lightly with a sensor, and sent data to the archive. A few meters away, the jungle had been disturbed, roots torn, a drag mark through the undergrowth. But the trail was wrong, too clean, too deliberate. She realized it then. Too quick, a blur of green and shadow. Kriza spun, weapon raised, but the movement vanished. A click, a whisper of air. The hunter's own traps now repurposed, lines drawn with uncanny speed and precision. For the first time in her career, Kriza tasted fear. The archive had prepared her for every apex, every tactic, but not for prey that learned, prey that hunted back. She signaled a full retreat to regroup. The pack moved as one, tension crackling. Kriza's pride warred with a rising sense of awe. In the trees, a human silhouette paused, watching the hunters flee. Rain pattered on a blade, the predator's new edge shining with alien blood. Retreating was a new feeling. Kriza's pack moved fast but careful, weaving through tangled roots and slick stone, weapons drawn and scanning every direction. Each step was haunted by memories of the last world they'd cleansed, every apex broken, every hunt predictable. But this jungle, this prey, had shifted the script. Vol took rear guard, eyes flicking between movement trackers and thermal feeds. The canopy above was restless, branches swayed with more than wind, shapes appearing and vanishing with uncanny stealth. Kriza issued a pulse. Regroup at rally point, check all traps, watch the heights. They reached a shallow ravine, where the pack's original drop gear lay hidden under camouflaged tarps. Kriza ordered a full diagnostic: jammers, motion sensors, perimeter alarms. Sleth checked the armaments, finding a tripwire already severed and a proximity mine missing. Kriza's blood chilled. Their own technology, stolen and used against them. The archive would not believe this. Prey improvising with hunter-grade tech? Unthinkable. A sudden flash, explosive, concussive, but not lethal, lit the far side of the ravine. Vol ducked, Sleth covered the flank, and Kriza scanned for the source. No signature, no heat spike, just a cloud of dense, obscuring smoke drifting their way. Within it, an odd, acrid tang. Chemical, synthetic, distinctly human. From the haze, a single metallic object rolled to a stop. A hunter's beacon, cracked open and repurposed. It pulsed a red warning, now looped with a message in rough, accented alien speech. Left. Jungle belongs to its own. The game had changed, and Kriza understood the new rule. The hunters were no longer alone in the dark. Rain carved silver lines through the canopy as Kriza's broken pack staggered deeper into the jungle. The survivors, 3, maybe 4 if Vol could keep up, moved through the endless green like wounded animals, each step shadowed by exhaustion and fear. The air was thick with decay, sweet rot mixing with the sharp metallic tang of alien blood. Kriza's comm flickered with static, no signal. The dropship above was silent, cut off by the humans' jammers and the dense, dripping foliage. Her pride was gone, replaced by a clinical, animal need to survive. Sleth limped beside her, weapon drawn, every glance into the undergrowth a silent accusation. The blame was silent but poisonous. Vol's wound leaked a trail, mixing alien acid with black mud. The 4th hunter, Ure, had not spoken since the ambush, his armor scored and helmet cracked from a human blade. Kriza scanned the jungle, searching for the ghosts that haunted them. Once, they'd been the predators. Now, they flinched at every snapped branch, every bird call. Something followed. They all felt it. A sudden noise, unnaturally crisp, cracked through the gloom. The pack spun, weapons raised. Only rain and mist. Yet nerves frayed further, panic bleeding into discipline. Krizar forced her mind into focus. They needed high ground, a defensible spot to regroup and treat Vol. As they pressed onward, every movement was measured, cautious, haunted by memories of hunts where the roles had never, until now, reversed. The jungle closed in, stifling, oppressive. Every sound became a threat. Even the archive, that endless record of victory, felt far away. They moved as a unit now. No more silent drifting or arrogant stalking. Krizia led, senses sharp, her pack spread in a tight formation, rifles raised. Every footfall was measured, each pause pregnant with tension. The jungle, once an ally in camouflage, now felt like enemy territory, full of eyes, hidden weapons, and ancient grudges. Vol, still shaken, limped at the rear. His wound was shallow, but the message burned deeper than the glass. Each hunter's visor cycled through vision modes. Infrared, night, pulse, sound. Every tool meant to give them the edge. But the jungle confounded them. Human signatures darted and vanished, bouncing off waterlogged terrain, blurred by swarms of insects and heat haze. They found the next sign by accident. A wire stretched ankle-high, coated in mud and leaves. Slef nearly tripped it, halting only at Krizar's warning pulse. She knelt and examined the trap. Primitive, yes, but effective. It led to a cluster of sharpened bamboo stakes, disguised beneath a false layer of moss. Hunter traps, turned against the hunters. Beyond, the forest thickened. Movement flashed. A human shape darted through the undergrowth, fast and low, vanishing before Kriza's rifle could track. She held fire, realizing too late that the fleeting figure was bait. A new trap sprung. Vines snapped loose, swinging a weighted log through their ranks. Vol went down hard, armor dented. Slef fired into the brush, but hit nothing. Kriza snarled, pulse tight with anger and growing respect. She'd come to Earth expecting easy trophies. Instead, the prey fought like phantoms, drawing blood and leaving warnings with every encounter. And in the rising wind, Kriza swore she heard laughter. Low, human, and utterly fearless.
Kriza ordered the pack to halt, regrouping beneath a curtain of heavy vines. The humid air pressed in, thick with the stink of fear and sweat, blood and rain. Above them, the jungle roared. Monkeys, birds, and something else, something new, mimicking the pack's coded pulses in a crude, mocking echo. The hunter's confidence had become a memory. Every move now was a risk, every step a negotiation with shadows. Krizia tapped her comm, broadcasting a silent distress beacon to the dropship in orbit. Extraction possible. The reply came back immediate and cold. Negative. Surface jamming. Hunt continues. A flicker on her visor. Thermal signature. Small and close. She spun, weapon raised, but the target was gone. Only the heat trail of a human hand lingering on the bark. Footsteps vanished into the dark, boots silent on the sodden ground. The humans could move in the jungle as if born to it. The hunters felt clumsy by comparison.
Slef cursed softly, voice tight with panic. Vol checked his wound, every touch a reminder of the new hierarchy in this kill zone. Krizia pulsed them onward, refusing to let the spiral of doubt infect the mission. But it was too late. Another snap, another trap triggered. A weighted snare hoisted Slef upside down, rifle clattering to the ground. Krizia lunged to cut him free, but a sharp pain lanced her arm. A dart, ancient but efficient, embedded just below the joint of her armor. She pulled it free, venom oozing from the tip. Human technology, primitive, but laced with something that burned. A kind of improvisation that wins wars not by brute force, but by refusing to die. She staggered, breath ragged, vision flaring with warning overlays. Somewhere in the darkness, a human voice whispered in perfect, mocking imitation of her own. It said, "The hunt continues," and the jungle swallowed them again.
Lightning clawed the horizon as the hunters limped into a clearing, their last desperate stand. Kriza's arm throbbed with venom, vision stuttering between heat and static. Her pack, battered and bleeding, formed a defensive circle beneath the skeletal remains of an old observation tower. Their breathing was harsh, armor scratched and smeared with jungle grit. The radio screamed static. No help coming, no answer from orbit. The jungle pressed close, its darkness alive, eyes everywhere. Vol aimed his weapon at every flicker, nerves frayed to snapping. Slith crouched low, scanning the perimeter, but the sensors returned only lies. Suddenly, a human silhouette stepped from the trees. Tall, lean, face masked with mud and leaves, eyes hard as flint. In his hands, one of the hunter's own rifles, retooled, scarred but functional. He said nothing. He simply fired.
Blue plasma lanced across the clearing, catching Sleth in the chest. The hunter convulsed, armor failing, body tumbling into the muck. Vol screamed, returned fire, but the human melted back into the green, vanishing as quickly as he'd appeared. More shapes emerged, silent, ghostly, all armed with stolen tech and sharpened blades. The pack's formation broke, panic spread. Kriza staggered to her feet, rallying her kin, but for every human they saw, two more moved in the dark. Traps sprung, lines snapped, chaos exploded. Within minutes the clearing was empty but for the bodies. 3 hunters down, the rest scattered into the jungle. Kriza, heart pounding, slipped away, dragging Vol with her, bleeding and breathless. She realized, accepted, that the archive had been wrong. The apex predator was not the one who arrived with the most weapons, but the one who could survive, adapt, and turn the very tools of death back on the killer. In the echoing silence, the storm broke at last, rain washing away blood, footprints, and the old arrogance that had brought the hunters to Earth. And far above, the dropship waited in vain for a signal that would never come.
Rain carved silver lines through the canopy as Kriza's broken pack staggered deeper into the jungle. The survivors, 3, maybe 4 if Vol could keep up, moved through the endless green like wounded animals, each step shadowed by exhaustion and fear. The air was thick with decay, sweet rot mixing with the sharp metallic tang of alien blood. Kriza's comm flickered with static, no signal. The dropship above was silent, cut off by the humans' jammers and the dense, dripping foliage. Her pride was gone, replaced by a clinical, animal need to survive. Sleth limped beside her, weapon drawn, every glance into the undergrowth a silent accusation. The blame was silent but poisonous. Vol's wound leaked a trail, mixing alien acid with black mud. The 4th hunter, Ure, had not spoken since the ambush, his armor scored and helmet cracked from a human blade.
Kriza scanned the jungle, searching for the ghosts that haunted them. Once, they'd been the predators. Now, they flinched at every snapped branch, every bird call. Something followed. They all felt it. A sudden noise, unnaturally crisp, cracked through the gloom. The pack spun, weapons raised. Only rain and mist. Yet nerves frayed further, panic bleeding into discipline. Kriza forced her mind into focus. They needed high ground, a defensible spot to regroup and treat Vol. As they pressed onward, every movement was measured, cautious, haunted by memories of hunts where the roles had never, until now, reversed. The jungle closed in, stifling, oppressive. Every sound became a threat. Even the archive, that endless record of victory, felt far away, a bitter memory of arrogance left behind in blood and mud. Kriza led them onward, but the sense of being hunted only grew. Somewhere out there, human eyes watched, patient and cold. The rain slackened for a moment, and the air grew heavy and still, the kind of silence that signals something about to snap. Kriza's pack moved through a narrow gorge, walls slick with moss, mist coiling at their ankles. Every step sent stones tumbling into black water below. Without warning, chaos erupted. A net of wire and razor thorns snapped up from the mud, catching Yuri's legs and hauling him halfway off the ground. The trap was old, human, rust and cunning, and as he struggled, a second snare yanked his weapon free. Vol shouted, firing wildly into the mist. Muzzle flashes lit up the walls, brief staccato bursts. Human figures,
faces smeared with mud and camouflage paint, moved with silent purpose. They used the cover of the jungle and their knowledge of the terrain to close in, guns low and steady. Kriza saw one, close enough for a heartbeat, her eyes cold, mouth set in a line of grim determination. This was no sport for her, this was payback.
The aliens returned fire, but their rounds chewed through leaves and shadows, never flesh. Another hunter went down, caught in a crossfire. Sleth tried to flank but tripped a hidden pit, crashing down, armor screeching.
Within seconds, the firefight was over. Silence returned, thick and final. The only sounds were the rasp of alien breath and the distant thunder. The human team melted away, leaving behind a message, scratched into a battered combat knife, embedded in the earth. We will always hunt those who hunt us. Kriza pulled Yurei free, but he was shaking, more fear than pain. The pack had been reduced again, and now the hunters finally understood. The prey was not only dangerous, it was organized. Above, lightning forked across the sky, and the real hunt began.
Kriza dragged Yer to cover beneath a rotting log, senses reeling. The human ambush still echoed in her mind, the precision, the cold lack of mercy. Vol covered their retreat, rifle tracking every flicker of motion, but the jungle seemed alive with unseen eyes. They regrouped in a shallow ravine choked with vines. The pack huddled close. Yura's leg bled greenish acid, sizzling quietly on the rocks. Kriza checked her comms again, static, jamming relentless. She assessed their remaining gear. 2 rifles half spent, 1 sidearm, a dwindling supply of toxin darts. Their armor was scratched and pitted, camo functions spotty at best. Worse, the environment worked against them. Moisture shorted circuits. Strange fungal spores began creeping into every seam, corroding alien tech. Each time Kriza tried to calibrate her visor, a haze of static swam across her vision, overlaying threat signatures where none existed. Paranoia bloomed. Every whisper of wind sounded like footsteps. Every bird call could be a signal. Even Vol, usually silent, muttered curses in their language, fingers twitching nervously on the trigger.
Yura spoke, voice strained. We must retreat, regroup. They outnumber us. Kriza shook her head, jaw tight. We are not prey. We adapt. We survive. But the truth pressed on them like the jungle's weight. Their numbers were shrinking, their advantage gone. The Archive's protocols, tactics that had conquered apex after apex, failed here. In the silence that followed, a human voice echoed from the treetops, distorted by a loudspeaker. Words and rough, mocking alien dialect. You are being watched. You are being studied. Run! The pack froze, blood running cold. The jungle was no longer theirs.
The jungle pressed closer with every step, its ancient roots seeming to writhe and twist under Kriza's boots. Above, the canopy swayed but no wind stirred, a sure sign that something moved, unseen, in the upper shadows. The pack slowed, senses stretched thin, weapons raised. They found the first human trap at the edge of a flooded clearing, a lattice of sharpened bamboo, perfectly angled to catch the unwary. Sleth spotted it and pulled up short, his visor flashing an urgent warning. Kriza crouched, studying the handiwork, efficient, silent, lethal. It was not the trap itself that shook her, but the knowledge that it had been built quickly, with whatever materials the humans could scavenge. Adaptation, weaponized. A glint of metal caught Vol's eye. He moved to investigate, brushing aside ferns, triggering a cascade of thorns and jagged glass, falling in a curtain just inches from his helmet. The pack reeled back, but no ambush came, only the relentless drip of water and the echo of their own fear.
They pressed on, only to find more signs. A fallen tree hollowed and spiked, tripwires woven from synth cord, a wall of mud and leaves rigged to collapse with a touch. Every advance met resistance, not from enemy fire, but from a mind that refused to yield, that turned every corner of the jungle into a weapon. Kriza forced herself to focus, to catalog each danger, but a cold truth gnawed at her pride. These traps were not meant to kill. They were meant to slow, to exhaust, to terrorize. This was not the behavior of prey. It was the discipline of a rival predator. A message, carved into a sapling with a steady hand, waited at the heart of the maze. For every inch you gain, you pay in blood. Kriza stared at the words, understanding now. that victory would come, if at all, only at the highest cost.
The comm unit finally sputtered to life, just for a moment, enough for Chrysler to catch a distant, garbled signal from orbit. Static resolved into the harsh, clipped voice of her fleet commander. She pressed close, shielding the unit from rain. Status update. Extraction not possible. You are being observed. Galaxy-wide transmission. Live feed active. This is now an instructional hunt. The words stung more than the jungle's venom. The archive had made their struggle a spectacle. Every wound, every mistake, every desperate tactic was now a lesson, broadcast for the galaxy to see. No reinforcements. No rescue. Chrysler relayed the message to her pack. For a moment, silence reigned, even the insects holding their breath. Vol shook his head, fury and shame warring in his eyes. Ure's face tightened behind his battered visor, jaw set in a line of despair.
Sleth's voice cracked. They want us to lose, to learn, to fear. Chrysler's pride curdled. She had been sent to prove the Archive's supremacy, to hunt and collect, but now her survival was an example, one meant to humble her species and warn others. In the humid dark, the pack shifted, uncertainty rippling through their ranks. For the first time, Chrysler wondered if survival alone was enough. If they made it out alive, their legend would be one of caution, not conquest. A single human voice, mocking and cold, echoed from a hidden speaker somewhere in the vines. We are watching too. The message was clear. There would be no dignity in this defeat, only the memory of being studied, cornered, and outmatched.
Twilight closed over the jungle, shadows deepening into a blue-black labyrinth. Chrysler's pack moved warily now, every step a risk. In the failing light, the difference between predator and prey dissolved. Every branch could hide an enemy, every puddle might mask a trap. A faint sound, a breath, a heartbeat, too regular for any animal, reached Sleth first. He raised his weapon, scanning the roots of a twisted fig tree. Chrysler gave the signal to circle. This time, they would not rush blindly. A lone human crouched in the undergrowth, hunched over what appeared to be a wounded leg. Her clothes were ragged, her face streaked with mud and blood. Chrysler's targeting reticle hovered over the figure, pulse rising. A simple kill, perhaps, a chance to regain momentum.
She signaled Vol to flank. He moved quietly, armored feet barely disturbing the moss. The human looked up and smiled. A flash of movement, the wounded leg straightened. The injury was a decoy. In an instant, the human rolled, knife flashing. Vol went down hard, a jagged wound blooming along his side. Sleth fired, but the human ducked and vanished into the green, leaving only a streak of blood. Vol's, not hers. Chrysler ran to her fallen kin. The wound was deep, armor sliced with surgical precision. Vol gritted his teeth, struggling to stand, blood hissing on the ground. The pack regrouped, rattled, alert. Every lesson the Archive had taught them was being used against them, turned inside out. Chrysler's thoughts darkened. This was no longer a hunt, it was a reckoning.
Night in the Amazon was not a darkness, it was a suffocation, thick with fog and 1,000 watching eyes. Chrysler's pack huddled in a shallow depression, camouflaged by tarps and ferns. Their night vision flickered, the humid air playing tricks with every sensor. They listened, but the jungle offered no comfort, only the distant, rhythmic beat of something circling them. Suddenly, the silence broke. The low whine of a human drone buzzed overhead, its red sensor lights blinking through the canopy. Sleth tried to jam the signal, but static and ghostly voices spilled into their comms. The pack scrambled, half-blind, weapons drawn. Then came the attack, swift, silent, ruthless. From the trees above, shapes dropped. Humans, faces hidden behind mud and blackened visors, moving with impossible speed. The first blow came from the dark, a blade slipping between Sleth's armor plates, then vanishing. Another hunter howled as a net, this one woven from vines and barbed wire, wrapped tight and dragged him screaming into the undergrowth.
Chrysler fought back, plasma blade spinning, but her strikes met only ghosts. A burst of light, a flashbang, improvised from scavenged tech, blew out her visor. Blind, she stumbled, swinging wildly. She felt hands at her weapon, quick and practiced, wrenching it free. As the world whirled in disorienting bursts of light and pain, Kriza heard the humans. No war cries, no taunts, just a cold, coordinated efficiency. Each attack was calculated, each retreat perfect, as if the jungle itself had trained them for this night. When silence returned, 2 hunters were gone, 1 dead, 1 missing. Kriza's chest heaved with anger and terror, her pack reduced to tatters. The jungle, once their hunting ground, had become an endless nightmare, and now, even the darkness obeyed the human's will. By dawn, what was left of Kriza's pack was little more than a shadow, faces streaked with blood and grime, armor in tatters, eyes hollow from a night without sleep. They trudged through a narrow ravine, desperate for high ground and shelter, nerves strung tight enough to snap. Every step felt like moving through a snare, every bush a possible ambush. A faint digital ping pulsed on Kriza's visor. Movement ahead. She motioned the survivors to fan out, rifles raised. The jungle opened onto a wide clearing, eerily silent and empty, but for the faint tracks of humans, muddy boot prints, shell casings, and drag marks disappearing into the brush. The air was thick with the scent of spent propellant and scorched earth. Suddenly, the ground erupted in a blaze of gunfire and coordinated explosions. Hidden charges, expertly placed, shredded the undergrowth and forced the hunters to scatter. Human soldiers rose from concealed positions, faces painted, their weapons efficient and merciless. This was no panicked defense, this was a kill box.
Kriza ducked behind a log, firing blind into the smoke. She watched as Vol fell, riddled with bullets, collapsing without a sound.
Yuri tried to break for the tree line, only to be caught by a tripwire that yanked him off his feet and into a hail of fire. Human voices barked orders, communicating in clipped bursts. Their teamwork was flawless, every movement practiced, every angle covered. The alien's superior tech was now useless, jammed, shorted, or stolen. In the chaos, Kriza realized the trap had been closing for hours. The humans had anticipated every move, every reaction. There was no escape, only the desperate hope to take a few of these monsters with her before the end. Rain began to fall again, washing the blood into the earth. Kriza's last stand was about to begin.
Smoke and gunfire choked the clearing, turning sunrise into a haze of red and gray. Kriza pressed herself flat against the muddy earth, plasma blade trembling in her grip. Around her, the last hunter fell. Yuri, struck down by a burst of automatic fire. The only sounds were the dying whir of alien tech and the efficient, methodical advance of human boots through the chaos. A cold clarity settled over Kriza. She had come to Earth as an apex predator, an agent of the Archive's arrogance. Now, alone, wounded, vision clouded by blood and mud, she saw her enemy at last. The humans moved like ghosts, blending with rain and shadow. Every movement was purposeful, every shot calculated, and not one was wasted.
A human approached, armor battered, face streaked with camouflage, rifle steady. He glanced down at Kriza, eyes unreadable, lips pressed in a line of tired resolve.
For a moment, their eyes met, predator to predator, each recognizing the other's cost. Kriza raised her blade in a final, defiant gesture. The human hesitated, then fired. A clean, efficient shot, pain flaring white in her chest. Kriza fell back, vision narrowing to a tunnel of light and rain. She heard, dimly, the humans calling for medics, for prisoners, for salvage. No cruelty, no boasting, just the weary business of survival. The hunt was over, but as she faded, Kriza felt the truth settle in her bones. Earth was not a world to be conquered. It was a crucible, a forge for predators sharper and fiercer than anything the Archive had ever recorded. She became another lesson for the galaxy, a warning in blood and silence.
Rain slicked the corpses and ruins in the clearing, washing away the heat of battle and cooling the earth to silence. Human soldiers moved through the carnage with professional calm, checking each fallen figure, alien and human alike, for any sign of life. Medics knelt by the wounded, working in silence. No one cheered, no one gloated. Their eyes were hard, but not cruel. The work was its own necessity. Captain Alia Reed, her face streaked with camouflage and exhaustion, surveyed the field. She signaled her team, voice low and even. Sweep for survivors, secure the alien tech, watch for traps. Every movement spoke of discipline forged in 100 disasters. Quick, thorough, unsentimental. The last surviving hunter, Kriza, barely clung to consciousness as the soldiers closed in. Through blurred vision, she watched as Reed approached, weapon at the ready but not raised. There was a pause, a brief, silent exchange.
Predator to predator, equals for a heartbeat. Reed crouched, studying the fallen alien with a mix of curiosity and cold respect. "You picked the wrong hunting ground," she said softly.
We didn't want this, but we finish what others start. Prisja could only stare, knowing her legend would not be one of conquest, but of defeat, and a new fear spreading through the archive. The humans didn't revel in victory. They accepted it, survived it, and prepared for whatever came next. As the rain fell, Reed stood, gesturing for her people to move out. The jungle reclaimed its silence, bearing the memory of predators bested and a warning, carried on every broadcast to the stars. Earth was not to be hunted. Earth was to be survived.
The Galactic Council chamber boiled with panic. Hollow screens flickered with battle footage. Alien hunters torn down by unseen assailants, their technology turned against them in a green hell. Counselors of every species shouted over one another, voices layered with fear and disbelief. At the center, the archive's keeper raised a trembling limb, projecting the final transmission from Earth's jungle. A hush fell. On screen, a battered alien hunter crawled through the mud, the camera panning up to reveal a human special forces team watching, weapons at the ready, faces unreadable. "Is this some trick?" a counselor demanded, mandibles quivering. "How did prey become the predator?" Another, scaled and ancient, shook their head. "No, the archive does not lie. Earth is now legend." A sudden silence, heavy and absolute. In that pause, the galaxy recalculated its fears. A new alert spread like wildfire across the networks of 100 worlds. The archive had issued a bounty, unprecedented in size, on any human survivor, their tech, or even a trace of their DNA. Hollow posters flickered above city streets and spaceports, looping video of Earth's rainforests and the faces of grim, mud-street soldiers. Translations rolled in every language. Apex identified, Prem awarded to those who capture the predator. Bounty hunters gathered in the neon-lit depths of asteroid bars, comparing rumors and gear. Some boasted of easy prey. Others quietly watched the shaky footage of jungle ambushes, their confidence eroding. The archive offered riches, technology, even new worlds. If only someone could bring back a human alive.
At the far end of a smoke-choked cantina, a veteran hunter adjusted her breathing mask and loaded a plasma carbine. Her eyes, yellow and reptilian, never left the screen as the human woman in the footage executed a perfect, cold ambush. She grunted, half to herself. "If that's prey, then the galaxy's changed more than I thought." Outside, ships began to launch. Warriors, scavengers, even curious scientists, all drawn by the promise of the hunt. No one, it seemed, had learned from the jungle.
Far above Earth, in the humming heart of a secret orbital command station, humanity's leaders faced their own reckoning. Screens lit the room, alien bounty posts, intercepted transmissions, faces of the missing and the dead. The jungle war was over, but the galaxy had declared a new, darker game. General Soto, eyes haunted but steady, addressed her team in clipped tones. "They're coming for us now. Every mercenary, every archive dog with a plasma rifle and a grudge. This isn't about revenge, it's survival."
Special Forces units mobilized, their gear a patchwork of Earth tech and captured alien weapons. Dropships were loaded with everything that had saved them in the jungle. Traps, camouflage, homegrown AI drones, grim determination. Even civilian survivors were armed and trained. The lesson of the Amazon was burned into every soul. Down in the barracks, a squad leader sharpened the jungle blade, voice low as she spoke to the new recruits. "Out there, the rules are different. We fight smart, we fight together. If they think they're hunting prey, they're already dead." The humans prepared, not just to survive, but to take the fight off-world. Every comm line and secure channel hummed with one unspoken mantra: "Let the galaxy come. We are ready."
Across alien worlds and star-choked moons, the hunt for humans erupted in chaos. Teams of alien bounty hunters, reptilian, insectoid, and machine, descended on remote outposts, mining colonies, and dense urban sprawls, each driven by the promise of archive glory. They tracked rumors and sensor blips, hunting in pairs and packs, sometimes falling over each other in their hunger for the prize. But everywhere they landed, things went wrong.
On the storm-racked mining world of Helos, 2 armored hunters breached a sealed tunnel, sensors hot with the scent of human DNA. They pressed forward, weapons high, only to trigger a sequence of homemade explosives that collapsed the shaft behind them. In the dim light, human eyes glinted from behind camo netting and scavenged alien gear. A firefight flared, brutal and brief. The hunters fell, their weapons snatched up by survivors who vanished before reinforcements arrived. On a frostbitten asteroid colony, another team tracked what they thought was a lone human child, only to find themselves flanked by hidden sentries, their own tracker drones hijacked and turned against them. Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Alien hunters found themselves outmaneuvered, outwitted, and, most humiliatingly, harvested for their own technology. The myth of the Apex spread from world to world, leaving a trail of broken armor and warning signs painted in human blood. "We're not prey. You're not welcome." In the sterile cold of an alien research facility, alarms screamed. Red warning lights strobed along glossy corridors as containment doors slammed shut. Human survivors, prisoners captured on jungle worlds and asteroid outposts, moved with disciplined urgency, hands slick with sweat, faces set with iron resolve. The lead, a battered woman in scavenged armor, yanked a stolen plasma cutter across a lock. Sparks burst. Behind her, a wiry man in torn fatigues rewired an alien panel, overriding security protocols in a rapid-fire dance of improvisation. The youngest survivor, barely more than a child, crept through vents to disable sensors with scavenged tools. An alien scientist tried to block their path, weapon raised. The humans didn't hesitate. A quick, brutal takedown. One silent, one swift, and the way was clear. As the last barrier fell, the humans stormed into a landing bay. In seconds, they commandeered a hunter dropship, using every trick learned from their enemies. The ship roared into the stars as alarms echoed behind them. Their transmission, patched into every open frequency in the sector, was defiant. "We're coming home. Anyone in our way is fair game." The galaxy watched in awe, and no small measure of fear, as the hunted escaped, and the legend of Earth's apex continued to grow.
On the distant moon of Celera, a famous archive hunting preserve, the tables turned in ways the galaxy had never seen. Alien bounty teams stalked through artificial forests under twin suns, armor gleaming and weapons ready, expecting an easy hunt of scattered, frightened humans. Instead, they walked into an ambush so precise it felt inevitable. Hidden among the tangled undergrowth and false rocks, human commandos watched every move, relaying positions and setting remote charges. As the lead alien hunter stepped into a seemingly open clearing, the ground erupted. Stun mines, net launchers, and scavenged alien turrets firing from concealed hollows.
Panic spread through the ranks. Alien hunters ran for cover, only to be picked off by silent figures moving in perfect coordination. Their comms jammed, their sensors spoofed, and every exit choked with traps. Human voices, cold, coordinated, unflinching, barked orders over hijacked archive channels. Within minutes, the preserve was littered with battered armor and abandoned gear. Only a handful of aliens made it out, dragging stories of prey who hunted like apex predators, using their own rules and weapons. And at the heart of the carnage, a single, chilling message was painted in scarlet on the shattered bark. "Hunt us again, and you'll join the archive as trophies."
The archive's proudest feeds, usually reserved for victory reels and legendary trophies, became a spectacle of humiliation. Across every major world, news screens and private networks played the same footage on loop. Alien hunters routed, their traps disarmed, their weapons repurposed by humans, who seemed to fade in and out of the shadows like phantoms. A pirate broadcaster, human by voice, hacked into the galactic news stream. Her words, clear, cold, and impossible to ignore, ran out across the stars. Earth's apex is not for sale. Hunt us, and you become the story your children fear.
Clips followed. A squad of armored humans taking down an entire archive team in a derelict spaceport. A lone survivor marking a defeated hunter's armor with Earth's sigil before vanishing. A group of children using stolen tech to send a mocking, defiant wave to the cameras. In boardrooms and council chambers, the galaxy watched in silence. What had begun as a sport had turned to legend, and legend to a warning. The myth of human supremacy wasn't just fear. It was proof, played for all to see. And in the dark, hopeful corners of conquered worlds, whispers spread. Perhaps, for the first time, the prey had a champion.
The Grand Archive Council, once a bastion of arrogance and order, was now a theater of fear. Elder hunters, archive officials, and planetary rulers packed the chamber, voices raised in desperate debate. Holoscreens glowed with reports of failed hunts, vanished squads, and broadcasts of humans hunting their would-be captors. A scaled ambassador pounded a clawed fist on the table, eyes wide with alarm. This is no longer sport, it is contagion. If we continue, we risk galactic war.
Others shouted for a ban on human hunts, some even proposing amnesty or withdrawal from Earth entirely. A few demanded the extermination of all human settlements beyond the homeworld, but these voices were lost in a wave of panic and uncertainty. The archive's keeper, voice hollow, called for a vote. The message was clear. The old rules no longer applied. Earth was off limits, at least for those who valued their lives and reputations. As the decree echoed through the chamber, some councillors stared at the screens in horror, others in reluctant respect. One thing was certain: the legend of humanity had changed the archive forever.
In the wake of the Council's ruling, humanity seized the initiative. Across subspace channels, a signal pulsed, a carefully orchestrated message from Earth's leadership, encoded in a dozen languages and broadcast to every archive relay. Earth is closed. The hunt is over. Any archive agent entering our space will not return.
To underline the point, human commandos launched surgical raids on known archive safe havens. In the debris of a starport armory, alien weapons were left piled and burning, Earth's sigil painted above. On a backwater archive moon, a squad of hunters was found bound and unharmed, a data stickling from the leader's claws. It played a single file, footage of the Amazon, the first reversal, and a voiceover. Cool, clear, without malice. Apex predators aren't born. They are made. By trial, by loss, by memory. We have learned, so will you. Galactic news feeds went into overdrive. Some archive veterans quietly erased any trace of Earth hunt from their records. Others, shamed or awed, passed the message on to their kin. For the first time, it was the hunters who feared the dark.
The stars wheeled above 100 worlds, and the tale of Earth's apex spread faster than light. In archive training halls, new recruits were shown footage of the failed hunts, first with skepticism, then with dawning fear. On the outer worlds, children whispered the name human as both threat and hope, spinning stories of the jungle war, the turning of traps, the galaxy's first true reversal. Former hunters who'd survived the chaos became reluctant storytellers. One, scarred and humbled, spoke in a smoky bar to a ring of young listeners. We thought ourselves unchallenged, but Earth isn't prey. It's a crucible. If you go there, go to learn, not to hunt.
Across the galactic net, the archive quietly retired the Earth hunt bounty. The Council's decree held, for now, but the lesson endured. True predators adapt, endure, and never forget. And so, long after the jungle fell silent, the myth of humanity thrived. In the dark corners of space, the legend was whispered in every tongue. Never hunt what you don't understand. In the shadows, somewhere far from home, a human soldier checked her gear, smiled, and vanished into the wild. The story was just beginning, one the galaxy would never forget.